Hello. Today I got a pretty lame vehicle. Sorry for those driving a Civic, but I got to work on these a lot lately, and I've noticed very common things that fail on these cars, so I thought I'll give it a chance. Do a used car purchase review tip. So this is a Civic LX. They have DX, EX, LX, SI, a bunch of other trims, and even they have a lot of chassis code. EP for three-door hatchback. This is ES, I think, for four-door. They have EM, two-door. Bunch of weird chassis codes. Not gonna really care about that. So inside, let's go with the feature. This car, the interior light doesn't work. Make sure that works. If you have DX, I don't think you even have these lights. DX is the base trim version, lightest weight, and you'll have like manual window, manual side mirror adjustment, which is really desirable for those people who want a daily beater. If they have a manual one, they get great gas mileage, really reliable. Glove box here. Windows are automatic for the driver's side, I believe. Yeah, if it's automatic up. Oh, it is not automatic up. Of course not. So you got 4 window switches here, switches there. I don't believe windows are something that breaks often on these cars. This is the child lock for the window, and then the locking mechanism breaks pretty often for some reason. And this is the cruise control. You push it and then you adjust it, you set it or accelerate it through here. This is a side mirror. If you put it on the left, you can control left. If you put it on the R, you can control the right side. Make sure those things work. Some models come with sunroof switch, which I believe you'll have a sunroof switch here, just like any Hondas. I'm not sure. This one does not. The back seat, very plain. There's a seat and there are doors with window switches. This is the factory radio, which has a code. So if you disconnect the battery, it's going to ask you for the code. Make sure the owner has the code. Make sure the AC works. I believe these one, if you put it on defroster, the AC automatically kicks in, if I remember correctly. And then make sure the AC works. Let's look at the gauges. Some of these do come hybrid, and I've driven one. And those hybrid, the transmissions and the hybrid batteries are starting to go out, so I would stay away from it. But I believe those hybrids actually have 1.3 liter engine instead of 1.7. So all the trim actually comes with 1.7 liter engine, if I believe it. If I'm right. And then the SI model comes with the K20, which is basically a hyped up RSX. So not much to look at here. Make sure, no lights are on. Some of the lights are check engine light, maintenance required. Pretty much that's the only thing that you need to check. That green light is just telling you have a key freaking in the ignition. Alright. Not much to look at inside interior. As expected. I'm gonna pop the hood. So, manual latch. This is the 1.7 liter engine, which if you are not getting an SI or a hybrid model, this is the engine that you're gonna look at. As you can see, this baby, all this white stuff, tells me it had a coolant explosion before. If you have any of these white stuff, those are coolant. When coolant dries, it leaves that white residue. I think that's phosphate that leaves that color. I'm not sure. But that's something good thing to look at. Probably telling me the radiator cracked sometime before. As you can see, it's not blowing up right now, so that means it's okay. This is the automatic transmission fluid dipstick. If you have a manual transmission, unfortunately you won't have that in your car. Battery is right here, fuse box is here, the struts on both sides, AC line, the oil dipstick is actually right here. Make sure the oil level is good. This engine only takes 3.4 quarts of oil, so if you're low on oil, could be pretty critical. The oil can is here, the header is here, just like the older Hondas. Intake, not much to look at. Cruise control, power steering pump does go out every once in a while. They do have timing belt, and unfortunately these are not transparent, so you just gotta ask the owner and hope he is being honest about it when the timing belt was done. The transmission, manual, automatic, I haven't heard a lot of issue with these models. The engine overall is very reliable, not because they're well engineered. I think they're just very plain engine, low output. One thing you need to check is the valve cover. The valve cover gasket, which as you can see is right here. This valve cover gasket rarely fails. That's not the one that you should check for. Almost every single one of them I've seen, if you take the spark plug coils out, you'll see an oil leak inside, meaning the spark plug grommets, which are in here, they fail very often because it is very difficult to put this valve cover gasket correctly, especially for those spark plug grommets to sit correctly, because the valve cover goes down that way, but your spark plug tubes are coming out this way. So it's kind of tricky. And then you see there's this alternator line, and then there's this vacuum hose, throttle cable, all this wiring, coil pack. All that stuff is in the way, so you got to remove all of that. And even if you do, they're still kind of in the way, so they're a little bit tricky to put it in. The alternator is right here, AC condenser is right there. That front motor mount, as you can see, this one has been replaced, is the first motor mount that fails. If you give gas, you'll see the motor wants to tilt that way. Motor wants to go that way, so that motor mounts get a lot of tension, so that's the one thing that fails often. The steering rack is also something that could potentially fail. As you can see, the steering rack is not underneath the car, it's right outside of the steering column. It's on the top, so if you had a flashlight, you can kind of see if they have any leak or anything like that. Just kind of check underneath if they have any leaks or anything. Axles, make sure, so raise it up good on the sky, give it a shake, left, right, up top. This is something that you must do buying a Honda. They are front wheel drive, has a lot of thing on the front, so all these things, if you fail, it's not going to drive right. And then I believe there's supposed to be a something here, maybe not, but this is a tie rod. You can straight see it, how it connects to the steering rack, and as you can see, I don't see an inner tie rod. Maybe they don't have one, but make sure this does move or crazy. This one has a little bit of, this is very reasonable. Now I'm gonna jack it up on the sky. Oh, before we do that, the headlights, make sure they're not foggy or blurry, everything works. In order to change bulbs, some of these are pretty ridiculous to get to. This one has HID in it, and in order to change the headlight or do anything, you gotta take out the front bumper. So that's that. Just some tip. Cars on the sky. Let's see what kind of things are down here. This is the stock muffler. As you can see, the pipe is not that big, very no bueno. The rear sway bar is as thick as my pinky, literally. And this is the fuel canister for EVAP, whatever rarely breaks down. Oh, this car has freaking drum brakes at the back. Some of them have disc brakes. This one has a drum brake. Well, as you can see, they don't have the goody old double wishbone system anymore in the back. They have the trailing arm design. Why? It's probably cheaper. And this is the Sun K, whatever. This is probably the resonator. And the back, I hardly ever see any of these go bad. Pretty good design, solid rear end, not much that could go back. Let's go to the front. Alright, it's a Honda. We got everything on the front. Whew! This is the back motor mount. Then that's the motor mount over here too. As you can see, where is the catalytic converter? Catalytic converter is part of the header. Wow, is that a good design? I don't know. Looks pretty tough to work on. And you got a engine oil pan here. As you can see, if you're trying to do the oil pan gasket, that looks like that could be pretty tough because you got all these covers for transmissions. I don't know why. One thing that breaks all the time is the front control arm bushing. As you can see, I just put in a new one, so this is a brand new condition. Same with this ball joint, and the sway bar and link is also replaced. These three things go out all the time on these cars because it just gets a lot of stress while driving, I guess. This bushing hardly ever goes bad. If the bushing goes bad, it's always this one. As you can see, while the wheel car is up on the air, there's a lot of twists on that bushing, and every time you steer, there's a lot of twists on that bushing. So that bushing, you know, even cars with less than 100,000 miles, I've seen that one like completely just come apart. So it depends on how the car was driven. The front, chances are, all of them will have disc brakes. And wow, look at that. Where is my double wishbone? They don't have it. They changed it to front Mcpherson Strut design. Why? Because they probably realize it's cheaper and it's just as good. Now that is my biased opinion. But they do have Mcpherson Strut design, so they're a little bit easier to work on. And maybe that's why this bushing goes out all the time, because you don't have much to hold on the top of the car. So you got the crankshaft pulley. The harmonic balancer is not much of an issue on these cars. Make sure no subframe is bent or cracked, as these cars, if you get in an accident, that is GG, done for the car. This car, as you can see, it's pretty rough shape. I wish I filmed the other car. The other car was pristine, mint condition. But this one, as you can see, bumper's all beat up, and you know it's not on there correctly. Probably means it banged a couple things here and there. The post-cat O2 sensor is right here. They made it so you can't freaking put a wrench in there. You have to get an oxygen sensor socket. The top ones are a lot easier to access. And then the axles, obviously, over here. Give it a shake. Both sides. Ooh, this one, it's got some place. Pretty acceptable. That's pretty much it. Same design on this side. Ball joint, control arm, sway bar and link. Sway bar as thick as my index finger. Very good car. Very good daily driver. Would I get one? Probably not. But that's about it. There's not much stuff to go over on these cars. Pretty simple. Very simple, in fact. Not much stuff that can break on it. People say Honda's reliable because there's just not much stuff that can break. These don't have those complicated continuous variable valve timing unit. I don't even think these have VTECs. Maybe they do? I don't know. They're just one cam, single overhead cam design. 4 valves per cylinder. Maybe 2 valves per cylinder. No idea. But doesn't say VTEC on the valve cover, so I don't think these even have a VTEC. So that's about it for this car. Obviously, you know, this one pretty obvious. It's been in multiple accidents. Wow, that doesn't line up, and that doesn't line up either. That gap here is wider than that gap here. As you can see, it doesn't flush. So something is telling me this car has seen at least a couple wrecks here and there. But you know, they do serve a good purpose as a good daily driver. Gets pretty insane amount of gas mileage compared to any of the cars that I'm interested in. So if you're looking to one of these, you know, make sure you check those things that I just told you. You can just put it on bring a jack, just jack it up a little bit, or crawl underneath. If it's stock, you can put your head in there, and then you can check off all those bushings and everything's are good. Make sure timing belt's done, there's no oil leak, there's no oil leak into the spark plugs, all that stuff, and should be good. If you have more things, please comment, and if you have any questions, please do ask me, and I'll answer if I care about it. Thanks for watching.